Charles, take us through this. This was an amended lawsuit. They amended the lawsuit that was previously filed by Tony Busby, correct, on behalf of one of his clients, where Jay-Z was not named, but they amended it to put his name in. What is going on?
Right. Jay-Z thinks what's going on here is that this is merely retaliation from Tony Busby. He thinks that's the only reason his name was added to this lawsuit now, because it was originally filed back in October, and when they filed it then, it named Diddy, of course, as one of the defendants. And the allegation was that at this VMA after party, Diddy and an unnamed celebrity had raped this woman who at the time was 13 years old. Now, they also said that there was a third celebrity, a woman, who watched all of this go on. And they didn't name anyone but Diddy. What happened in the background, what we didn't know, and now this has come forward, Jay-Z has said this, and so has Tony Busby. Tony Busby sent a demand letter to Jay-Z saying, my client says you were the other person who was there. We would like to meet with you and have a private mediation and avoid your name being coming out in public. Well, Jay-Z saw that as extortion and, in fact, filed a lawsuit against Tony Busby. He filed it anonymously. And I don't know if you remember, this was back in early November, mid-November. We reported that there was a prominent man, that's how we referred to himself in the lawsuit, who was suing Tony Busby. It was anonymous, just a prominent man. Turns out that was Jay-Z.
You guys have any idea back then, Charles, that it might be Jay-Z?
I got to tell you, Don, we had it when we got the lawsuit, and we reported it, we put it up on the website, and I was looking through it, and I turned to someone here and I was like, this might be Jay-Z. And the only reason I thought it might be Jay-Z is the language that was used was so defiant. It was like, it sounded very much like someone who said, you're messing with the wrong person. I'm not the one who's just going to roll over and write a check to you. And just there's something in the language of it that made me think this might be Jay-Z. Now, we actually contacted people connected to Jay-Z at the time, and they denied it and said, no, that's, we don't know what you're talking about. And obviously he didn't want his name to come out attached to it at that point. Yeah. Well, now they refiled the lawsuit on Sunday, and now they've added Jay-Z's name. And now it says what they're alleging is that he was actually not just watching, but he was involved and did commit this rape along with Diddy.
Wow. That response from him is really quite something, where he says, basically he's calling it extortion. And he says, you've messed with the wrong guy. I have the response right here, but I just want to read just a little bit of it, Charles, and I want you to respond to this, where he says, hang on, here it is. Sorry, let me get my stuff together. He said, my lawyer received a blackmail attempt. I mean, he came right out and said it. Yeah. Blackmail attempt, called a demand letter from a lawyer named Tony Busby. What he had calculated was the nature of these allegations, and the public scrutiny would make me want to settle. No, sir. It had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion. So no, I will not give you one red penny. And it gets worse from there. He's going to Tony Busby. We are in an age, you've been doing this. This is what you do. Usually stars or high profile people will say, we're not going to, litigate this in public. We're going to do it in a courtroom. Categorically deny. No more statements from us.
That's the boilerplate response that you get. And it usually comes from an attorney or a publicist. This was personal, and you could tell it was written by Jay-Z. This was not, it was in his voice. And I got to tell you, just from covering him over the years, it was that tone that you saw in that response that he put out on Sunday. That's what I saw in the lawsuit that was filed back in November that made me feel like this was Jay-Z who had filed the lawsuit against Tony Busby. It is extraordinary that he would respond that way, and pretty quickly. I think the other thing that we got to mention here is that this was not a surprise to Jay-Z, clearly, that Busby was going to add his name to this lawsuit, because he had a response ready. I think he knew it was coming. And I think they also, on Jay-Z's side, they think that it was coordinated. they added his name to this lawsuit on Sunday, knowing that on Monday night there was a premiere for Mufasa here in Hollywood, where Beyonce and Blue Ivy are in the movie, so everyone expected them to be there, and Jay-Z would normally be there. And I think what Jay-Z's people, not I think, I know that they think Busby coordinated this in an attempt to embarrass him and maybe make him not go to the premiere, maybe even stop Beyonce and Blue Ivy from going. As it turns out, the whole family went because, as you heard in that statement you just said, Jay-Z is defiant, says, I didn't do this. I have nothing to hide. And furthermore, he took it another step, Don, in that statement. He said, if this had actually happened to your client, you should want whoever did it to her to be in prison. So why don't you file a criminal complaint against me? There should be criminal charges for whoever did this.
Yeah, let me ask you this. I'll get to that. So why would he not want him to go to the premiere? Was that something he was holding over his head, trying to get leverage?
I think he's embarrassed. I think he was trying to embarrass him.
Okay.
That's, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. Because it had already become public. Was this a coordinated effort on Jay-Z and Beyonce's part to show, unity and that they were together and show up? Because, Beyonce is, everything is coordinated. She doesn't usually do red carpets. They release the photos themselves.
I think she would do this. I think she would have done this red carpet anyway, because Blue Ivy's in the movie as well. And it was a big moment for her. So I think she was planning. I know she was planning to go and was expected to be there. I think what Tony Busby, the reason he filed this on Sunday, is he wanted to either force Jay-Z to not go, because, as you know, what normally happens when celebrities are suddenly involved in a controversy, they don't go out to events because they don't want questions. They don't want photos that bring up the news cycle again. So typically they wouldn't go. And clearly, Tony Busby, if that was his plan in filing it on Sunday, he miscalculated, because Jay-Z decided he was just going to go full bore against him and say, I got nothing to hide, and I'm going out with my family no matter what you want to accuse me of.
Charles, I want to ask you about what you just mentioned moments ago, where he talked about saying, why didn't you file criminal charges? And he said something like, look, wouldn't you think that something that was this heinous and this egregious, why wouldn't you want to file criminal charges? Does this have anything to do with the statute of limitations? And look, excuse my ignorance on this. Was this filed in Los Angeles or in New York?
It was filed in New York. So, well, the civil lawsuit was filed in, hang on, I think the civil lawsuit was filed in federal court.
Mm-hmm.
But
the statute of limitations
would be in New York State.
And, that
and there are no statute of limitations for first-degree rape in New York State. And based on the allegations that were put in the lawsuit, this would be, if there were to bring criminal charges, would be first-degree rape. So there is no statute of limitations. So if I can't imagine Jay-Z would put that in a statement without his lawyers knowing, look, there is no statute of limitations. So if you're going to call him out this way, you're going to dare him, know that it's possible that they will file a criminal complaint. Doesn't mean that the DA would bring charges. The other thing you got to look at is, and by the way, Tony Busby has since told us that his client is considering that. He said it is up to his client ultimately, but there is a chance that she would go to NYPD and file a criminal complaint. Now, investigating a rape 24 years later, finding witnesses, finding evidence would be extremely difficult for the authorities, but we'll see if it goes that way.
Let me ask you this, though. Do you think, it would be really, silly is the word, or a miscalculation for Jay-Z to put that in a response if he did not believe, if there was some evidence
right
to the fact that this did happen? What do you make of him going this far in his response and daring, if you will, it seems like he's daring to me, daring Tony Busby to file a criminal complaint?
Yeah, look, let's face it. He's not only calling out Tony Busby, and he was careful, I think, in the statement to not really go after the alleged victim, because you don't want
asking the victim to reveal herself.
Yes, but he did file a motion asking the judge to have the alleged victim reveal her identity. And the reason they said is, look, if you're going to sully my name and my reputation that I've spent my whole career building, I need to know who I'm going up against in court so I can defend myself properly. I don't, because the alleged victim was 13 at the time, I don't know. I think that's a big mitigating factor. And I think the judge would be inclined to not force her to reveal. But we'll see how that goes. But you're right. For Jay-Z to go that hard against not only the alleged victim, but also Busby, it makes you think he really doesn't have anything to hide. Now, look, we don't know. These are allegations. I wasn't there. I can't say whether the victim, the alleged victim, is telling the truth here, or if Jay-Z is telling the truth. That's what the courts are for. But clearly, if the intent of going so strong in his response was to make people think he really doesn't have anything to hide, I think Jay-Z wins with that, because that's got to be the reaction most people have. Yeah. On the other hand, it's yet another allegation involving Diddy. And as you know, when these things pile up, what happens in the court of public opinion, people start to go, they can't all be making it up. Yeah. Some of it has to be true. And if some of it is true, then people start to believe, it doesn't take more than one of these cases to be true to ruin Diddy's reputation, and in this case, Jay-Z's, if it is true.
We are thrilled to have you as one of our watchers. So thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button as well. And that way you can be notified about all of our new content. There's plenty of it for you. We're live every day at 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop more videos at 2 p.m. Eastern and at 5 p.m. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon Nation, of the Lemon community. Members receive access to special community posts, exclusive content, and live shows. So just head right over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.